poems for children, and he goes into the local schools, but he's also a friend of us at the library. And this poem I'm going to read is called Winter Walks in Wellies. It goes like this. Winter walks in wellies. Nestling in warmed bellies, breakfast settles. Now, think thick socks, gloves and bobble hats. Ready, steady. Winter walks in wellies, green or black, orange or blue, pink squiggles, yellow dots, red squares, maybe rainbow patterned pairs. Squelching, sploshing, squishing, sloshing, puddle spraying, gush gains playing, trudge and thud, mud up, mud down, till every pair's sludge shades of brown. Wellies, 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 marching, marching, marching on. Wellies, 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 fun, 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 fun. Yell, pell mell, the Duke of Wellington. Winter Walks in Wellies by Dr. Mike Johnson. From Dot to Dot, available in your local library. Hope you enjoyed that as a starter. It's quite a nice light one to start with. I think it's quite nice to do. I'm sitting here on a day, it's a very grey, rainy day outside. Not very cold yet, but still starting to feel wintry and getting dusky dark already at 3 o'clock in the afternoon. So I'm going to read some more wintry poems as well. I hope, so the next one I found, when I was looking on the shelves this morning, I found this book. It's by Christina Rossetti, a pre-Raphaelite poet, wrote lots and lots of poems and prose and was also involved in paintings. This one in particular, it's really apt for today. It's called Winter Rain. It's a very beautiful, different style of poem to Mike's. Winter rain. Every valley drinks, every dell and hollow, where the kind rain sinks and sinks, green of spring will follow. Yet a lapse of weeks, buds will burst their edges, strip their wool coats, glue coats, streaks in the woods and hedges, weave a bower of love for birds to meet each other, weave a canopy above, nest and egg and mother. But for fattening rain we should have no flowers, never a bud or leaf again, but for the soaking showers. Never a mated bird in the rocking tree-tops, never indeed a flock or herd to graze upon the lee crops. Lambs so woolly white, sheep the sun-bright leas on, they could have no grass to bite, but for the rain in season. We should find no moss in the shadiest places, find no waving meadow grass, pied with broad-eyed daisies, but miles of barren sand, with never a son or daughter, not a lily on the land, or lily on the water. So that's Winter Rain by Christina Rossetti. And I quite like this one. It's quite an optimistic one. I imagine sitting on a wintry day, maybe a bit later in the season when it's properly cold and damp and wet, and you're a bit miserable when you're looking at the rain, thinking, oh gosh, rainy again. But actually looking forwards to the future, to the spring, to the growth, to everything that happens that the rain brings on in its season. I think it's a very optimistic way of looking at the seasons, and one of my favourites, one that I really enjoyed when I looked up this morning. Okay. All right. So I'm going to find the other books I found. This is a lovely, beautiful book. We've got lots of these kinds of books in the library. A poem for every night of the year, for every day of the year. This is every night. And I looked up and thought, what's going on for the 15th of November? And in fact, the 15th of November one isn't very good, so I won't tell you what that one is. But I looked a few days later, the 20th of November. I've got another kind of wintry, darkish one. This one's by Emily Dickinson, okay? And it's called The Moon Was But a Chin of Gold. So it's marvelling at the moon and how it changes. Again, something that's been very, very lovely the last few days. I remember seeing a great full moon last week. And it's how it goes in and out of its phases, and just pondering that, okay. The moon was but a chin of gold a night or two ago, And now she turns her perfect face upon the world below. Her forehead is of the amplest blonde, her cheek a beryl haven, her eye unto the summer dew the likest I have known. Her lips of amber never part, but what must be the smile upon her friends she could confer, were such her silver will? And what a privilege to be but the remotest star! For certainty she'd take her way beside your palace door. Her bonnet is the firmament, the universe her shoe, the stars, the trinkets at her belt, her dimities of blue. So that's the moon was but a chin of gold. I love the bit about what would her smile look like. Her lips of amber never part, but what must be the smile upon her friend she could confer, were such her silver will. So the hint of the smile without actually really knowing what it is. It's a very lovely sort of a way of thinking about that, and I think it's a nice way of considering when you look at the moon, particularly on November nights, in a clear November night, maybe not tonight in the rain, but other nights nearby. Okay, The Moon Was But a Chin of Gold by Emily Dickinson is that poem, okay? And don't forget all these books are available from the library, so you can come and borrow them and read them to your heart's content anytime you wish, okay? The next lot I'm going to do lots of books, poems from the nation's favourite poems. This book obviously has got the favourite poems in, including lots of my favourites. And I thought I'd finish with a handful of my favourite poems on a sort of wintry theme, okay? And I thought I would start with Walter de la Mare's Silver. Again, it's talking about the moon, which is kind of follows on from the previous poem. Silver. Slowly, silently, now the moon walks the night in her silver shoon. This way and that she peers and sees silver fruit upon silver trees. One by one the casements catch her beams beneath the silvery thatch. Crouch in his kennel like a log, with paws of silver sleeps the dog. From their shadowy coat their white breasts peep, of the doves in a silver feathered sleep. A harvest mouse goes scampering by, with silver claws and silver eye, and moveless fish in the water gleam by silver reeds in a silver stream. Silver by Walter de la Mare. Another favourite of mine, I think I've probably read it at nearly all my teas and chats, is Sea Fever by John Masefield. And he goes, I must go down to the seas again, to the lonely sea and the sky, and all I ask is a tall ship and a star to steer her by, and the wheels kick and the wind's song and the white sails shaking, and a grey mist on the sea's face and the grey dawn breaking. I must go down to the seas again, for the call of the running tide is a wild call and a clear call that may not be denied. And all I ask is a windy day with the white clouds flying, and the flung spray and the blown spume and the seagulls crying. I must go down to the seas again, to the vagrant gypsy life, to the gull's way and the whale's way, where the wind's like a whetted knife. And all I ask is a merry yarn from a laughing fellow rover, and a quiet sleep, and a sweet dream when the long trick's over. Sea Fever by John Masefield. A great one for adventurers, I think. I love that one. Okay, so I was looking at the Walter de la Mare one, so Silver, which is a very lovely one. And I thought, what about Listeners? And Listeners kind of works for this sort of time of the year, and a bit dark and a bit spooky. Listeners by Walter de la Mare. I'm sure lots of you might know it, but it's a very sort of kind of spooky, creepy poem, which should be great. So sit back, enjoy your tea, and get a little bit spooked out by The Listeners by Walter de la Mare. And in fact, before I start, I'm going to have another little bit of my tea as well. Wet my whistle. Not quite wind like a whetted knife, but also just having a little bit there. That's nice. Okay, so The Listeners by Walter de la Mare. Is anybody there? The traveller said, knocking on the moonlit door, and his hoarse, In the silence champed the grasses on the forest's ferny floor, and a bird flew out of the turret above the traveller's head, and he smote upon the door again. "Is anybody there?" he said. But no one descended to the traveller. No head from the leaf-fringed sill leaned over and looked into his grey eyes, where he stood perplexed and still. But only a host of phantom listeners that dwelt in the lone house then stood listening in the quiet moonlight to the voice from the world of men. Stood thronging in the faint moonbeams on the dark stair that goes down to the empty hall, hearkening in an air stirred and shaken by the lonely traveller's call. And he felt there in his heart their strangeness, their stillness, an answering cry, while his horse moved, cropping the dark turf neath the starred and leafy sky. For suddenly he smote on the door even louder and lifted his head. "Tell them I came and no one answered. That I kept my word," he said. Never the least stir was made the listeners, though every word he spake fell echoing through the shadowiness of the still house from the one man left awake. Aye, they heard his foot upon the stirrup, and the sound of iron on stone, and how the silence surged softly backward when the plunging hoofs were gone. Bit eerie, but he's travelling in and he goes back again, okay? All right. Hope you're enjoying these, okay? So it's my last tea and chat this time. I've got very busy with our library being reopened and doing lots of other activities. We're becoming warm spaces. Every library is in Wiltshire, so come along and stay in the warm. If nothing else, you know, you're welcome to come in and use the libraries as your living rooms of the town, if you like, okay? But this is great to do some last favourite poems one more time, okay? I'm going to go from one spooky set of people, the listeners, to a bit more of a monster maybe, Jabberwocky anyway. Again, a great poem, lovely to read out aloud. I hope you enjoy this one as well. Lewis Carroll's Jabberwocky. "'Twas brillig, and the slithy toads did gyre and gimble in the wabe. All mimsy were the borogoves, and the mome raths outgrabe. Beware the Jabberwock, my son, the jaws that bite, the claws that catch. Beware the Jubjub bud, and shun that frumious bandersnatch. He took his vorpal sword in hand, long time the manxome flow he sought, and so he rested by the tum-tum tree, and stood a while in thought. And as in uffish thought he stood, the Jabberwock with eyes of flame came whiffling through the tulgey wood, and burbled as it came. 1, 2, 1, 2, and through the vorpal blade went snicker-snack, and he left it dead, and with its head he went galumphing back. And thou hast slain the Jabberwock? Come to my arms, my beamish boy. O frabjous day, Calloo, Calais, he chortled in his joy. 'Twas brillig, and the slithy toes did gyre and gimble in the wabe. All mimsy were the borogoves, and the mome raths outgrabe. Great adventure, going and hunt the Jabberwocky. Okay, I thought I'd finish with a final sort of slightly more pensive, wistful poem maybe, thinking about the future, The Road Not Taken by Robert Frost. Not so much a wintry one, but it has got a wintry name, so I think it kind of is allowed in this set of poems about wintry, cold and dark and moonlit. The Road Not Taken by Robert Frost. 2 roads diverged in a yellow wood, and sorry I could not travel both, and be one traveller. Long I stood and looked down one as far as I could, to where it bent in the undergrowth. Then took to the other, just as fair, and having perhaps the better claim, because it was grassy and wanted wear. Though as for that, the passing there had worn them really about the same. And both that morning equally lay, and leaves no step had trodden. Oh, I kept the first for another day, yet knowing how way leads on to way, I doubted if I should ever come back. I shall be telling this with a sigh, Somewhere ages and ages hence, two roads diverged in a wood, and I took the one less travelled by. And that has made all the difference. I took the road less travelled by, and that has made all the difference. Being a librarian. Maybe, I don't know. Thank you for listening. Okay, I know some of you are listening live, and it's lovely to see you live, and other people listen to it later on. Okay, but everyone stay safe, and it's really nice to talk with you like this online. Now, if you love poetry, I'm just going to show you something that's going to come up in Trowbridge Library soon. This is a collection of poems by a local poet called Dor Gorman. It's called Candles, and she did some work with a couple in Trowbridge who weren't able to get out and about, so she kind of chatted to them and wrote poems with them. And shortly there'll be a small display in the library, so you can come and have a look at this collection of poetry. It's produced by the Celebrating Age Wiltshire organisation, and they're actually coming in to do some more poetry later in December as well. So keep an eye out for those things on our Facebook page, or come in and see us and we can tell you all about them. And again, there's loads of other stuff going on in other libraries all around the county as well. So everyone stay safe, and I'll see you in the library at some point. Come and say hi to me. Bye.